Demonstrations against COVID-19.
There's anger about a new round of tight restrictions.
In Rotterdam fought more street battles with police.
I really think that health and life are not the only rights that have been compromised by the current pandemic.
Say it is the perfect moment for any autocrat to curtail on rights for other people. They're being arrested for being gay.
Today's society, sometimes even without realizing it, are experiencing a time of uncertainty and insecurity that also affects other areas of people's life.
How easy it is for governments to use epidemics to basically curtail on rights and freedom.
The limitation and sometimes suspension of other specific individual rights and freedoms imposed by our countries can call into question our democratic principles. Measures such as the ever-changing restrictions globally adopted or the abuses consistently carried out by the executives when declaring curfews or states of alarm for an extended period of time, and even the violation of the rule of law itself are also clear examples of the situation that we as democratic societies have been going through. The declaration of states of emergency as an exceptional and necessary measure in the face of the current health crisis had been adopted by our countries without finding a counterbalance. The parliament itself and the judiciary should be the counterbalance for those decisions adopted by the executives. The enormous weight that the executive powers have assumed in order to manage the pandemic must be justified, proportional, exceptional, and certainly limited in time. And in any case, they must be subject to appropriate parliamentary control to ensure checks and balances remain. The role of the judiciary in those countries has been essential, for example, in Spain, where the strain between the central state and some autonomous communities has found a balance in courts. Or in the Netherlands, where the possible illegality of the curfew is still pending a judicial ruling.
Anger boils over against the night curfew, the first in 75 years.
Not every limitation of rights and freedoms can be justified. Freedom of expression, freedom of enterprise, rights of children, the right to privacy, freedom of religion, access to information, and so many other rights of the individual must be valued and considered by national government when taking the necessary measures to deal with the pandemic. The red line between limitation and restriction and the implicit general suspension of certain fundamental rights has, in many cases, been completely blurred. The suspension of business activities that are not considered essential by the executive is yet another example of how our rights, in this case the freedom of enterprise, can be curtailed under the pretext of the pandemic.
To prevent them from spreading fast in the country, the government has now announced new travel restrictions.
Freedom of movement has been generally prohibited in almost all jurisdictions, subject to specific exceptions. It's true that fear has permeated our communities and a kind of anesthesia has paralyzed us. However, we must never lose faith in the democratic principles and values that underpin our communities, and we must stand firm and resolute in defending our most essential rights.